procedure to help them access finance. Because if they get the right support, it's always about also support, making sure that they can survive. This will make access easy for others. So I think the question, maybe it would be useful to enlarge it a bit.
Valuable comment. Any comment on that? No? Thank you. Okay, the next question is to get your advice, how can KICs maximize their access to finance?
I can address that question. Look, the issue is that owning a high growth company is like owning an alligator. And that alligator, you have to feed it. And so once you're out there looking for money, the next tranche of money being 100,000, being $1 million, being 100 million, it doesn't matter. That money will get burned very quickly if your company is successful. And so raising money and tapping, the financial markets at any level will be part of your life as a business owner and an entrepreneur. And so what I think is that to the extent that you haven't done it before, to the extent that, no offense to anybody in the room, some people may not feel like they're, financially sophisticated to be able to deal with those issues. I think it's very important to either recruit or get the assistance of somebody who's done it before. Track record is everything. When you go to venture capitalists, one of the first questions they ask you is, have you done it before? What's your track record? And so at least having on board somebody who's capable to deal at that level is very important. The other thing that I would say is critical is the temptation is to oversell. And the one piece of advice I would give you is be a hero at the back end and not at the front end. It's much better to have realistic expectations. Move one step at a time. Get somebody to invest in your company. Deliver. When you say you're going to reach such and such target, you get there or you beat it. And that builds confidence. These guys, get the feeling that you're understanding what's going on, you're realistic, and you can be trusted. And then, the pocketbook will get open and open and open. There's nothing worse. You could do yourself no more harm than literally shoot yourself in the foot by overselling, promising things that you're not really capable of delivering. In terms of accessing, the capital markets at any level, that's to me is a significant thing. And then the other thing is, build a team at every level, so that with people who have been in early stage businesses, who have the experiences that you don't have, one of the skills that you need to really work on is how can I attract the best people to work with me? And venture capitalists don't want to invest in one-man bands. Because the feeling is, look, if I put God knows how many $1 million in that company or even lesser amounts, and this guy gets run over by a bus, where does that lead me? So very quickly, you need to have, different people focusing on different things. And I know you say to yourself, well, that's interesting, but I don't have money to, recruit these people. How can I do it? And there I would say, don't be penny wise and pound foolish. If you have a business, if you own shares in your company, you have a way to recruit people with those shares to get them interested in the company. It doesn't have to be salary. As a matter of fact, somebody says, I'd love to join your company, but I need to make €250,000 a year minimum. And that would be probably the last person that you want to recruit. So you have value in the company that can be used to get the proper staff around you.
There is a question? Yes? Okay. So I'll just repeat the question in summary. So when the entrepreneur has to get out from his garage, and probably your question is have access to more large funding, and okay.
What you need to do is work intensely on roping something, on being able to finalize a project. I think that to use your expression, you stay in your garage as long as you don't have some of the fundamental issues figured out, and that is something that's a long process. In my experience, it was about being able to find an angle, acquire a contract so a business activity could be started. Once you have that, and once you have your arms around an opportunity, then it's time to start talking to other people. In terms of finding a business partner, you have blind spots, things that you're not aware of. Then it's the time to find business partners that don't have the same blind spot. And then it will be time to start talking about, people who might be willing to commit money to your enterprise. But what's very important is initially is, get your arms around it. And I guess you do that in your garage, or you do that at your kitchen table, or wherever that might be. And that could be securing your ID. That might be getting a contract, that might be getting the foot in the door somewhere. And that's a very lonely process, I agree with you. But the minute you have your arms around it, then you need to go outside.
I would make one additional comment. I think it's good to move from garage to the better place, but keep the garage culture in the company. That's what we, even though we are now 100,000 people, I joined when we were 4,000. That's what we try to do. That, working in the smaller teams where individual can really make a difference and can feel like, okay, I'm really connected to something, bigger. Otherwise, if you just do your task. Because there's a huge, I tell you what, there's a huge difference between motivation and inspiration. You can motivate hands and brains of the people, but you inspire the heart. And inspiration is real, because inspirit means in Latin, in spirit, okay? It's about the heart. You inspire people. That's why, unfortunately, Steve Jobs, he passed away, but he was one of the most inspirational leaders in the world, because he first said, why I do, or why we are doing what we are doing. He was saying, like, we are challenging the status quo. And then he was talking about all devices and everything else they did. Martin Luther King, he was not saying, I have a plan, he was saying, I have a dream. And that's a huge difference. So keep the entrepreneurship, culture, the garage culture, why you started it, even when you move to the bigger place, a better compensation, whatever.
Follow up, basically, what you say is like for me, seems like a tradition in the sense that on the one hand, you kind of sell a dream, but on the other hand, venture capitalists never give money for specific deliverable or specific product you want to deliver, a scalable product to customers.
Well, the business angel will give you the money if you convince him that you are able to
computer which did something meaningful, and you remember that, was in the room 4 to 5 meters. So he looked very stupid. The same with Jobs, right, when he started to talk about, personal computers. So it looks, you need to have a dream, and you need to really believe it, and that's the way. You should not oversell it, or you need to have a belief that it can happen.
But I think there's two aspects here. And if you go to a venture capitalist and you come across as a dreamer, you come out of it with zero, right? I completely agree with that. But at the same time, with the people who work with you, who say, this is a guy has an unbelievable drive. This guy will be successful. I want to work with him. I share that dream of building a company together. That's something different altogether. You see what I'm saying? I mean, look, there are guys who've been very successful at, starting pizza shops, right? So it's not as if you have to invent and have a dream of, changing the planet. So yes, you need to go to financial people with a plan. And there you can't come across as a dreamer. But then at the same time, to get people interested in working with you, interested in working 24/7, dedicating the lion's share of their lives to building that company with you, that takes, I don't know if it's called a dream, I don't know what it's called, but I think you get it, right?
Maybe again, from my perspective, a small thing. So there are people who can really make it in selling their vision, like Shai Agassi. He's now the head of Better Place, this organization that creates or wants to create battery swapping stations that allow you to go large distances with your car. So, he was just selling a huge vision, right, at the World Economic Forum for young leaders. He was saying, I want to change the world. That's why he called his thing even Better Place, right? The world needs to be a better place. And the concept, it was heavily oversold. And right now I talked to the marketing chef, and he told me, yeah, it was a strategy to start with the battery swapping stations, even though now they're switching more into the cities with this charging poles, right? So he was selling this vision, but he had a track record, and that's the difference, I guess. We are pretty young, and I think if we want to have this vision and get money for it or something, then we need to have working prototypes somehow.
Thank you. That's answered to your question? Yes? Okay, thank you. So let's go to the last question. I think that we have already partially answered to it, but so regarding the current economic situation in Europe, which advice would you give to someone who intends to launch a venture within the next 24 months?
Do it regardless of the environment. You cannot time the market as a venture capitalist, as an investor into venture capital, and you can't time the market as an entrepreneur, because when you start your business, you may be either in bad or in good conditions, but you have to think ahead, and you never know where the cycle is when you start commercializing. So the most successful businessmen are persistent in any conditions.
I completely agree with that. It's, let's not look for excuses not to do something. If you have a good idea, if you feel the time is right and you can get some momentum, the key is to get some momentum. Just do it. And then, the rest will follow. The conditions will never be right. There will always be, just look at the newspapers for the past 15 years, there's always been preoccupation about this, that, or the other. And I totally agree. Things will not stay bad forever. Who knows? There may be an opportunity out of, the mess that we find ourselves in.
I would add to this one, actually, don't wait, because the longer you wait, the faster your idea gets outdated. Actually, the moment that you have this idea, probably the 10 other people in the world have the same idea. The question is who actually dares to work on it and to bring it to light.
I agree. I think if there's a better economic situation, there's more demand, in fact, for innovation, because today, whether you are in private sector or public sector, everybody's looking for the saving, productivity gains, and so on. And guys, you know, I think you need to be dreamers, right? Because if you take Facebook, okay, Facebook, if Facebook would be the country, is the third biggest country in the world, built in less than 10 years, right? It is amazing. That's what, you know, technology can do, right?
And it's recession-proof.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Facebook doesn't care.
They still need to figure out the monetization model. Don't take me wrong, even though they probably will have a great IPR, but
Also maybe to that, I mean, I think you need really your heart to be bound to your idea. Everybody's talking about passion. You can call it passion or be moved by something or being very close to your heart. And I think it's important because you're going to work on this idea for several years and you have to inspire every day, again, the people that work with you, right? So if you just see a business opportunity, this may work for maybe half a year, right? But then in the end, it must be something that moves you.
Thank you.
I think, and sorry, for Facebook, I think it's the same. I think Mark Zuckerberg just wanted to get laid because, you know, and he even said in the movie at least, he said, this is the perfect instrument for people to get laid. So maybe that's why he did it. So.
I think there is a question over there.
Yeah, yesterday and also today we heard lots of very good